going on, Jerome's? So I love and respect everything that Slingin' and Sam Darnold, a.k.a. America's quarterback, has done for the Vikings this season and will continue to do into the playoffs. 4 more games. I expect Darnold to pull on the full-on Darjamin blend, definite teabag, just like, right? The God Emperor quarterback of the United States, get quick hubis. Nailed it. But of course, the Vikings have JJ McCarthy waiting in the wings, and Ginger Jesus versus the So we need to talk about. There's not been a better glow up between JJ McCarthy with the bussin' broccoli look to this, the hockey hair and the flow. Woo, love it. Besides the I'm gonna whip somebody's ass stare, it's fantastic, right? But Sam Darnold will have his suitors in free agency. The Vikings definitely could be in tag and trade mode. We've talked about all the options, but of course everything will get taken care of after the Vikings win these next 4 games, which is very important. But J.J. McCarthy, he was drafted to be the future franchise, number 10 overall, the highest drafted QB in franchise history, and of course, Kevin Collins knows. The quarterback whisperer knows he's got his man, that he could be here with the Vikings for the next 10, 12, 15 years, hoisting a dozen, 15, or 20 Jerome Bardys, respectively, or something like that. But there's a lot of factors that go into this. Number one, there still is a chance that the Vikings could bring Sam Darnold back. 1 game doesn't negate everything that he's done in a 14-win season, although it's pretty close. That's how thank you, Sam Darnold, was. But it does seem like it's going to be J.J. McCarthy's team, likely with Daniel Jones as his backup. Darnold goes somewhere else. But there's a lot of interesting circumstances this offseason. Number one, Darnold's going to be in huge demand because tons of teams need quarterbacks, and there's a limited supply because this is not seen as a tier 1 quarterback class. Shedeur Sanders, reports are some teams don't even see him as a first-round pick. He could go number 1 overall. I'm very intrigued by Cam Ward. Jalen Moreau's probably going to be in the first-round mix. And there was even talk that, hey, they're trying to pump up Drew Aller into the top 5 conversation. Drew Aller is a major project. Definitely should go back to school. This quarterback class is not good. Like, this quarterback class doesn't hold a candle to the 2024 class where J.J. McCarthy was in the mix. And yeah, I do legitimately believe that J.J. McCarthy, if he was in this draft class, would be the number 1 overall selection. Not even taking into account that he would play a senior season and then all that extra experience and all of those accolades. But if J.J. McCarthy from 2024 was just plopped into this 2025 class, I think he'd be quarterback 1. I think he'd be the number 1 overall pick. And so first off, the Vikings are not trading J.J. McCarthy. They're just not. But in terms of what value they could get, it would have to be huge, right? And I think that the Vikings would get that if they did entertain things. Long story longer, Mel Kiper Jr., the NFL draft grand poobah over at ESPN, Todd, talking on the draft podcast with our guy Field Yates. Kiper suggests J.J. McCarthy can land Vikings 3 NFL draft picks in trade. But it gets better. Quote, there's talk. Lots of talk. Talk is cheap. That JJ could bring 3 draft picks, which would include the number 1 pick overall, by the way, Kiper said during a mock draft session with ESPN's Field Yates. I just said that. Okay, so that's in the discussion because it could be a possibility. So not only 3 draft picks, I feel like they buried the lead here, the number 1 overall pick. And now, of course, number 1 is held by Tennessee, who new GM, Brian Callahan Auto is running things there. But there's a lot of spots where teams would commit atrocities to get J.J. McCarthy, and that's how the Vikings need to value things right now, whether Darnold's back or not, whether J.J. showed or not. But just look at this list. Titans, Browns, Giants, very much so. The Raiders, the Jets, the Saints, the 49ers, potentially, if they don't want to pay Brock Purdy, as well as the Colts and the Seahawks, they would go all in. Like, I think most of those teams would give up 3 first-round picks for J.J. McCarthy, legitimately. And for the Titans, it would be a tough conversation. Like, if the Titans came in and were legitimately like, hey, we will give you the number 1 overall pick and an additional first-round pick and maybe a starter like Jeffrey Simmons for J.J. McCarthy. I don't think that they would, but at a certain point, you would have to consider all your options for the good of the team. Like, J.J. McCarthy is going to be that dude. I think that he's got that killer instinct, but if some team is ready to give up everything I don't know. Jeffrey Simmons and the number 1 overall pick would be tough. Because what would the Vikings do then with the number 1 overall pick? Would they trade down? Here's what would happen. So the Titans trade the number 1 overall pick, a first round, to Jeffrey Simmons for JJ McCarthy. I don't think that they'll get that, but let's say that they do, right? And then the Vikings at number 1, there's still all these other teams that need a quarterback. So the Vikings could trade down from 1, get even more draft capital. And on top of that, maybe they tagged and trade Darnold for a second and a fourth or somewhere in there. And then all of a sudden, Kwesi has all of the picks in the world. And then maybe you stay in the top 5. Like maybe the Giants come up to 1 to get their choice of quarterback ahead of Cleveland or anyone else who might trade up. So the Vikings are sitting at 3. Quarterbacks probably go 1, 2, whether it's the Giants and the Browns or some other team trades up. And then all of a sudden, you have your pick. You could take Mason Graham. You could take Travis Hunter. You just got it made. I mean, come on, baby. Come on. But this is all pie in the sky stuff. Like, no matter what happens with Sling and Sam Darnold, there's no scenario where you're trading JJ McCarthy, right? Whether Darnold's back, whether he's not, JJ McCarthy stays here, absent, just getting blown away by it. It's one of those things where, Rick Harrison from Pawn Stars, where he had that Patriots Super Bowl ring, where it's like it's for sale, but it's $250,000. Now, is anyone going to pay that? Probably not, but it's for sale, sort of deal. All right, but I'm rolling with JJ McCarthy. Screw that. Screw everyone. Screw the haters. Whatever. Anyways, your thoughts. Mel Kiper Jr. says that the Vikings could get 3 first-round picks, maybe even numero uno for JJ McCarthy. Let us know your thoughts, our thoughts, his thoughts, comment section. You guys know what to do. Skull production value.